Is high-priced audio worth it? This is from Indranil in Amherst, New Hampshire, and he writes, "There are many audio items like speakers for $650,000, and I think he's referring to the Wilsons, although they are not alone. Amplifier monoblocks for $200,000 each, DACs for $40,000, $60,000, $100,000, cables for $35,000, and frankly, that's cheap for some cables. Is it even possible to use materials that can justify the MSRP of a product so high? Is it all brand equity, or are there any real audio values packaged in these expensive boxes?" That's another prickly question. You guys are good. I love it. We get all kinds of great questions in here, and I gotta kind of tackle them. Boy, I don't want to get in trouble with my fellow manufacturers. First off, let's talk a little bit about supply and demand, because if you're building a $650,000, have I broken this thing? I don't know what this goofy little. Sorry for the Ohm's law. Guys, you can't see what I'm doing. I think I just broke a Legos, man. Yeah, serious ADD. Okay, so supply and demand. If you make a $650,000 loudspeaker, you're not likely to make many of them. Maybe, I don't know, 3 a year, 4 a year. So that's essentially a hand-built, handcrafted product that a company is going to have to invest a whole shitload of money to get to that point, to design it, to do the cabinets, to set up tooling, to do all of those things, and then sell 1 or 2 a year. That's pretty tough. I don't know how I would do that. I don't think I would do it. I mean, that's our bottom line. I don't think that's what we're into. We may someday come out with a very expensive product, but if we do, it won't be because we're making 1 or 2 a year, and it will be because that's what it cost to make. And we know that it's going to have limited appeal to people. So that always has to be taken into consideration. So it's not always going to be a perfect equation of cost plus value plus retail price. It just can't be. Another thing to consider too is that materials play a big role in the cost of many products, not all. So if you take some of the cable products I've seen, if you were to take the wire and the insulation and everything that's in that product, unless it was made out of solid silver, which some are, but let's just say it's high-priced copper, like we used PCOCC. PCOCC is, I can't remember now what it stands for, but it is the Ono continuous casting method. And maybe it's a pure copper by Ono continuous casting. I think maybe that's it. And Professor Ono was a Japanese guy that wanted to make a single crystal copper. And if you've ever seen how copper is made, it's usually drawn through a die. So you've got a big batch, whether it's oxygen-free copper, whatever kind of copper it is, you've got a big batch of it here, and you actually pull it through a die, kind of the opposite of how you extrude pasta. Think of a pasta machine or a toothpaste tube. That's an extrusion where you squeeze it and you push it through, as opposed to grabbing hold of the pasta and pulling it through. When you do that, the crystal structure of the copper then, and I am no chemist, so don't get all wigged out like, well, in metallurgy it is. I can just share with you what I actually, have picked up along the line. That the crystal structure is I don't know if shattered's the right word, but it winds up being many, many, many crystals, all individual, that make up the copper when you do that, when you stretch it and you pull it, which is typically how wire is made. And there's many people who believe that as the signal travels on the skin and through the copper, that each of those crystal barriers is a diode barrier. Again, I don't know. It's questionable to me whether that's true or not true. I certainly have heard differences in copper. I can't tell you that I know why. I can just relay what people who know a lot more than I do have told me, and so let's not get off onto all that. By way of explanation, I was trying to get down to PCOCC, which is the copper that we have used in our most expensive cables, and that's the Ono continuous casting process. So imagine, instead of drawing copper through this die, what you do is you continuously cast. I guess they use molten. It's a secret process. There's only one machine in the world that does it, but I'm just imagining that they cast a long piece of copper and it turns it into one single crystal. I can tell you that PCOCC is very expensive. It definitely sounds different and better, in my opinion, for both audio and for power cables than anything else I've ever heard. And it's very expensive. As you can imagine, one machine in the world that makes it. We have to stand in line and order it in batches, and then we wait our turn, and then we'll get a lot of it. And then we can make a lot, not a lot, but a lot of it, as in a pile of it. And then we can make our products, and when we run out, we run out. We can get more or we can't. So there is some unobtainium-ish kind of things that why we have to charge a lot, but it's certainly not $35,000. We're talking, many hundreds of dollars. So it's a terribly difficult question because everything is in the eye of the beholder. And one last thing I will tell you, diminishing returns. As you get more expensive in audio, the degree of improvement that you're likely to get diminishes as the price goes up. So let's say that you're going from a DAC that is a, $500 DAC to a $2,000 DAC. That's a hell of a big jump. And in general, you're going to hear a 2 or 3 time jump in sound quality. I mean, it's like, whoa, yep, that is extreme. That is very noticeable. I get it. I understand why that DAC is 2 times more expensive than that DAC. Big jump, big difference. As we go from 2,000 to 4,000, and I'm just picking random numbers here, 2,000 to 8,000, there is another jump, but it is not as big as the last jump, going from the very low cost to reasonable cost, big jump. Reasonable cost to higher cost, not so big. High cost to like silly high cost, even less. But it just depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you, food, cars, climbing ropes, I don't know, pick anything. It's true in almost any field that you go into. As you become an expert, as you become a perfectionist looking for the nth degree where you want to move forward as I do, I'm ready. I've got this system, it's sounding good, and I'm willing to put in, another 10 G's to get that little boost in there because I can appreciate it, and I do appreciate it. I'll do it. But not everybody. So I couldn't recommend to the guy who walks into our building and said, hey, I've got $7,000, $8,000 and I want an entire system. I can't tell him, well, you ought to spend that on a DAC and start there and then wait. I mean, that's silly, right? So we don't do that. It doesn't make sense to do that. But over time, you have to decide where you're going with your system and what it means to you. All that said, there are products that are embarrassingly priced in our industry, and they are priced such that they embarrass me, and I don't think that they are good and honest products. They're few and far between. Most companies in our industry are ethical, honest people who charge what might seem outrageous, but a reasonable price for what you're actually getting and the number of them available in the market. And I do believe that, and I'm sticking to it. All right. Thanks for the prickly questions. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.